C. E. Harris was a handloader and firearms enthusiast who wrote for the American Rifleman, the Gun Digest, and the Fowling Shot magazine. He's the guy who invented Ed's Red. It's a bore cleaner, but he's probably best known for the load. What is the load? The load is a magic formula for milsurp rifles using 13 grains of red dot powder. The goal is to create a lightweight practice load that would work for most milsurp cartridges that was safe. Red dot, unlike most pistol powders, is very bulky, so bulky in fact that it's difficult to double charge a rifle case. Even though it's a reduced load, it's not a wimp, and it recreates the ballistics of the deer rifles of yesteryear like the 3240. Reduced loads can be useful for training. Milsurp rifles often have steel butt plates, and some recoil very hard. Shooting 200 rounds of full-power 8x57 cartridges in one day can easily result in a bruised shoulder. Economy. Less powder is used and cheap cast bullets can be loaded instead of expensive jacketed bullets. You could also save on wear and tear on your brass. Harris set some rules that should be followed to ensure safety and to get a good result. 1. The case must be larger than the 300 Savage or the 35 Remington. I'm guessing Harris meant larger by case capacity. 2. The rifle must be of a modern design suitable for smokeless powder. 3. The rifle must be 30 cal or larger. 4. The bullet weight must be in the normal range for that cartridge and can be cast or jacketed. 5. Fillers are not recommended or needed. There are some other tips, like using gas checks on 30 cal cast bullets, but they aren't required for 32 caliber or larger. So why was Harris so specific in his rules? I suspect that he had the American milsurp rifle shooter in mind, and it's likely he didn't think anything other than 30 or 45 caliber rifles were worth the time testing. Also, bottleneck rifle cartridges are prone to weird pressure spikes when loaded with fast-burning powders, so it's possible he didn't want to get into safety issues with smaller diameter calibers. If you do have a 6.5 Swede, or something similar, then red dot may still be something you can use. I recommend looking up gallery or low power loads in a reputable manual, like the Lyman Cast Bullet Handbook. Final note, Harris does not specify a powder range. He specifies 13 grains of red dot, period. I wouldn't recommend straying too far from the 13 grains set by Harris. I suspect he had his reasons, mostly to avoid those weird pressure spikes caused by low powder charges and excessive pressures caused by quick burning powders. Today I'm going to load up some 8x57 cartridges using some surplus 218 grain full metal jacket bullets with loads ranging from 12 grains to a maximum of 14 grains. I've got a lot of work to do to get the brass prepped and loaded, so I'm going to need a montage to get this done quick. So here's an example of some of the groups I was shooting today. Here's my first target, which was shot at 50 meters. So yeah, I mean at 50 meters this is pretty good. This is 12 grains, and if you include the one that flew a little bit, I mean it's 1.25 inches. If you don't include that, it's 5/8 of an inch. It's a tiny little group, so at 50 meters this load is going to be pretty awesome. I mean, if you can see it, you could probably hit it. I had my sights set to about, I think it was about 400 meters, and I was using a 6 o'clock hold. So I hadn't adjusted my front sight over a little bit to center it more. So this is, I mean, that's actually not too bad. Pretty happy with that. Figured I'd never be able to tell the difference between the loads with groups that tight, so I pushed the target out to 100 meters. So this is my next group here at 12.5 grains of red dot. So we're still looking at, I mean that's a pretty good group, you know, with the Mauser sights not so great. So yeah, I mean we're looking at what, 2.5 inches. Oh, that's not too shabby. Remember, these are surplus Full Metal Jacket bullets that were pulled, so they're not exactly the best bullets that you can get. Here's another one. This is the 13 grain load. I adjusted my front sight so it was centered a little bit more successful. By this point I had adjusted my sights, I think it was upwards of around 800 meters, so it just goes to show the velocity differences between the full power stuff and the red dot load. And this one is about 3 3/4. So it's starting to open up a little bit. This is 13.5 grains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's hard to tell. I'm guessing this is probably the widest one. It's 3 3/4 ish, about there. And then finally, here it is at 14 grains. This really started to open up. Now we're looking at, well, it's almost 5 inches. So I think the sweet spot seems to be in around the anywhere from 12.5 to 13 grains, or maybe 13.5 grains. So it seems like, yeah, the 13 grain mark is just what you would expect it to be. I think for the most part, what's reducing the accuracy for this is it's probably the sights and the rifle itself. Could be the bullet, but I mean these results are pretty decent for plinking load, so I'm pretty happy with that. You know, remember we're using iron sights at 100 meters and Mauser sights at that. So I wanted to show you the brass from this little experiment here. Here's all the rounds that I shot today. I have one set of 13 grains that I didn't shoot off. Didn't get the chance to. But overall, if you can see the primers here, I mean there's no pressure signs whatsoever. Nice and clean. It's not like there's a bunch of soot or anything like that at the neck. Nothing scary at all. I mean, that's pretty decent. No pressure signs whatsoever. So that draws to a close this video on red dot. I think it worked pretty successfully. I suppose I could do some work and tune it up, maybe use a different bullet, and give that a try. But overall, I think it's been very successful. So I'd highly recommend giving this a try, especially if you're a cast bullet shooter. I think this would work really well for cast bullets. So thank you very much for watching the video. Have a good one, and I'll see you out on the range.